I just want to do something that I'm going to commit to.
I'm
right?
so compelled to share, to pull other people out of their situation.
And I'm giving hope to women just like me who, probably felt unseen or probably.
It's just about finding what you love and what you're passionate about.
Do what you love. Do what you love.
And I really realized that this is what happens once you let go. You just create all that space,
It's about helping each other. It's about growing with each other. It's about being true to self.
To whom much is given, much is required.
You only ever have one obstacle, and that's yourself.
To commit to change. Change your life. Change your future.
Hey, and welcome to Commit to Change, otherwise known as the C2C podcast that gives a voice to the people who may be considered a small fry in their industry, but are doing big things in their communities. This is Miss Nikki, the Jane of all trades, but the master at living. I am committed to introducing local VIPs, which are vivaciously inspiring people to encourage you on your daily journey and let you know what is possibly happening around you in your area. So today's guest comes from now hot and sweltering Southern California. Ashley Clayton, say hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
You are absolutely welcome. And I just want to tell our audience a little bit more about you so they can know who is Ashley. She is a life and relationship coach, and like I said, in Southern California. And she specializes in helping people of color see their self-worth during times of hardship. Through her wellness company, Love and Other Things, Ashley teaches people how self-love can affect every part of their life. Yes, yes, and yes again. She helps her clients develop skills that transfer into better jobs, healthier relationships, and stronger emotional connections to self. Her core belief is to know yourself is to know love. In addition, Ashley works for a social justice nonprofit in South Los Angeles, where their main focus is to assist African Americans that have been affected by the job crises. Ashley believes that it is important for people to not feel alone or believe that their situation will not get better. And by sharing her message, she hopes to let people know that there is always a way out of the storm and that there are people who can help them see it. Welcome once again, Miss Ashley Clayton. Yay!
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Just to give a little extra information to go along with that beautiful introduction you just gave me. Like you did say, I am a life and relationship coach. I specialize in self-love. So what my core philosophy is obviously, as you stated, to know yourself is to know love. And I believe that once you understand who you are as an individual, you can manifest anything you want. It is yours and it is attainable. I came to this conclusion because I want to say in about 2016 to 2018, I was really lost. I had just ended a very, very hard relationship. And I had moved back in with my parents because I wanted to help them out. Started working a couple different retail jobs, doing just a lot of little things that didn't sit right with my spirit. And I was like, hey, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel like myself. I don't like what I am doing for a living. I need to figure out who I am. And I went on what I like to call my eat, pray, love journey, where I essentially did a lot of self-work and did a lot of self-discovery, started taking some classes just to really hone in on who Ashley was. And I purchased my website and was like, you know what? This fits right with my spirit. I know helping people and helping them figure out who they are is what I am meant to do. So I became this life and relationship coach, and I help everyone out from family. I help out people who come and they seek me out, whether it's through the website or it's through our Instagram. I am consistently in a place of trying to help out as many people of color as possible.
So you kind of answered our next question as to what inspired you to make that commitment to change. But I'm just curious, I just want to dig in a little bit more because I know people go through situations and not, and they take things to just some to feel better. But what was there like a particular like point where it was like, you know what? I think other people need to know this, and I want to be the person to give it to them. I want to show them. What it takes and what it means to put out there like this message.
Actually, it was a conversation I was having with a friend. I was sitting on the phone with him. We were texting back and forth, and he was asking me all these questions about how he can actually find someone to be with, because he's really on the hunt for trying to find a girlfriend. And so we started talking about his past relationships and how they weren't working out and what was going on there. And we really got to the core of what his issue was. And we quit talking. And the next day he sent me a text message and he was like, look, I feel like you really saw into my soul. And I've never had anyone else see me the way that you had, and the way that you were able to provide me with information. And this wasn't a long-term friend. This wasn't a best friend. It was someone I was just like reconnecting with from high school, and we just happened to be chatting. And he felt that strong connection from me. And so I was like, wait a second, if I can help you do better, who's to say I can't help other people do better as well? And I started talking to people that I have spoken with in the past, and I've had people that were looking for someone and now they're married. And they specifically had told me like, hey, Ashley, without you, I wouldn't have been able to actually be in the marriage and have the kids and the family that I have right now. And that's such a touching feeling for me, to be able to know that when I'm assisting someone, I'm actually making a difference in their lives and they can feel that. And I just think that's such a beautiful feeling. And then along with that, I have my niece. And my niece, she's like this 15-year-old teenager, and she's going through life and trying to kind of discover who she is. And in conversations, if she doesn't have like her mom in her life right now. And so in conversations with her and trying to kind of help her navigate, I can see the need in people to kind of figure out who they are. And it starts obviously really young, and I'm not working with adolescents, but to see someone so young trying to figure themselves out and know that that still can carry on to when you get older, it just felt attracted to wanting to help these people.
That is so awesome that you're able to really get feedback right away, you know, as you were starting the beginning parts of your journey, and that people are being touched by what you're doing. There's something about like having that feeling like I am doing something, I am worthwhile, like I'm making a change, I'm making a difference in someone's lives, as opposed to like how we all are part of that rat race, the squirrel running in the wheel, and the regular 9-to-5 jobs, and we're just like, we're doing what our job says, but there's like no purpose. There's nothing coming from it. So I think that's really great that you're able to get feedback right away, and you're like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to move forward in. So tell me, like, what obstacles have you encountered since you decided, like, I'm going to dedicate my life to this? And how did you overcome them?
Definitely negative self-talk and imposter syndrome. I feel like everyone kind of ends up having like those feelings of self-doubt creep in every now and then. But for me, that was, I don't want to say it was a huge part of my life, but coming out of such a negative relationship and trying to like discover myself and jump into this career path, definitely imposter syndrome. I know my stuff. I understand, like I study communication for a living. So like I went to college for communication. I'm getting my master's in communication now. Oh. So like I know my stuff, but every now and then, you know, you have that little voice kind of like creeping on your shoulder, and it's like, hey, do you really know your stuff? Are you really able to help people? Is this really what you're meant to do? And so I started coming up with affirmations. And I actually have a whole workbook on affirmations that I give out for free and how to create your own, because I think they're so powerful. And so I started telling myself affirmations every morning. I started writing affirmations down. I'm big on sticky notes, and everyone at my office knows that like there's sticky notes all over the place. So I'm big on writing things on sticky notes just so I can see it. So if I physically see it, then I'm physically telling myself out loud and I'm reading it in my head. I know that it's true. And so I'm really big on just trying to create positive self-talk to drown out that negative self-talk, to drown out that imposter syndrome. But that was such a tough obstacle for me, which is trying to tell myself, like, you can do it. I bought my website in 2000, and I want to say like 17, but I didn't put anything out. I didn't like physically put my website up until earlier this year, just because I knew this was my name. I knew this was my brand. I knew this was what I wanted to do, but I couldn't get through the self-talk to actually say, hey, put the website up. I had been coaching people, but for some odd reason, I couldn't push the website out. And so I just kept talking to myself and telling myself that you can do this until I was like, hey, put the website up. And now it's up.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
But you know what? You know how you say you don't want other people, you want other people to know they're not alone. I'm going to tell you, Ashley, you are not alone. The whole Self-Lift Network was something I wanted to start way back. And I want to say 2012, 2013. I started my initial video back then. And a friend of mine was like, you look sad. And I had just gone through a major breakup. And I was like, well, I don't want to project sadness. Like, I want to inspire and I want to give hope, but I didn't realize the hope and inspiration comes in the transition, the transformation in the story. So I totally could have started at that time. So I feel you in that whole idea of like, you know what you want to do, but you still can't get over, you know, that the talking negatively to yourself to show up in your truth. And of course, many years later, then it happened. But I just feel like there was experiences that I had to experience in order to take me to that next step, so that when I show up, I really show up in power and on a whole other level and mindset than in the beginning. And so like, I know the same is true for you, that here you are, you're showing up, you decided to come on C2C to say, listen, this is who I am. I want you to know it. I'm standing in my truth. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I have to ask, so throughout your journey and deciding to do this, and I don't know like where your family stands and what they believe in, how they are looking at the direction you took, but who do you feel like has been your biggest supporter throughout this whole journey?
Well, I'm very fortunate that I have such a very, very great community of people. My mom, my dad, my 15-year-old niece that I was talking about earlier, she's a very big part of my life. And my like best friends that I also consider my family, they are definitely an extension of me, are the biggest supporters. My father actually passed away in December. And one of the big things he told me before he passed away was, you're going to soar in 2020. Like, those are his exact words. Our last conversation was, you are going to soar. And that stayed with me. And every day, that's one of, like, I was talking about affirmations and things like that. That's one of the things, like, I tell myself is, you are going to soar. Because that's one of the last conversations I had with my father was like, you're going to soar, you're going to make it. And so I believe that. And even with my mother, my mom is constantly saying, how can I help you? How can I support you? Is it funding? Can I help like with funding for something? Like, what do you need from me? And even my best friends, like, we're just a very great community. My best friend Chantel, who's totally going to listen to this later, she actually made me face masks with my company logo on it. And they're super cute because she has a couple different business ventures, but one of them is actually making embroidered materials. So she made me a face mask and it says love and other things on it because she wants to be as supportive as possible. So now I get to walk around with my little love and other things face mask. And so I can't pinpoint one individual that's been the biggest factor in supporting me and has been there for me throughout the whole thing, because there's so many. It's really my core family and friends that have just been my biggest support systems.
Wow. Well, let's say thank you to mom. Let's say thank you to your best friend, and let's say thank you to dad. May you rest in peace. And that's really great that you have that support system. Not everyone has that, so to be able to have that and be nourished and empowered through them, I think that's absolutely fantastic. So thank you for sharing them with us, and my condolences to you.
Thank you.
Does she make more than one? Because I'm like, I want one.
Girl, I could give you the information and you could connect. She makes like all types. You could have a C2C mask if you want it.
Yes, I would love that. Yes,
I'll make sure to give you the information.
Yes, please pass it on. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so how do you feel like you are adding value to your community?
I try to incorporate love and support in every aspect of my life. I actually also work for a social justice nonprofit, as you mentioned earlier, in South Los Angeles. And so I'm very fortunate in working for them that they allow me to utilize a lot of the wellness practices that I incorporate into my coaching business at my job. And so I do this thing called counsel, which I like to describe. It's a talking and listening circle that provides collective healing for people. And so we just actually had one last week, and we have one coming up this Thursday. And what we do is we're all on Zoom and we discuss what's going on in our lives. And we ask different questions surrounding everything, and not like super hard questions where we're getting like into the deeper root of things, but we ask very like simple questions like what is your weather today? And we'll follow up with something along the lines of how are you providing yourself with self-care, or share a story that's on your heart right now that pertains to everything that's been going on in the last 6 months. And the amount of people that have told me that they are thankful for me just holding that space for them. The amount of hugs I've received when I actually do go into the office, is we just had a food drive a couple of weeks ago. And so I went down into the office and people were coming up to me, giving me hugs, even though it's COVID, even though they know we're not supposed to be hugging and touching. They're just like, we just miss you guys so much. And we're so appreciative of everything that you're doing, that they just want to give us a hug. And so I try to incorporate love into all the work that I do with the social justice nonprofit I work for, along with my actual company, like you mentioned earlier. And you'll probably hear me say this a couple more times: to know yourself is to know love. And so I try and sprinkle that across every aspect of my life. Outside of doing counsel for the social justice nonprofit I work for, I hold one counsel session once a month, just for open to the community. And I've had people come and I've had people share, and they've literally messaged me afterwards like, hey, I didn't know what counsel was going to be. I thought this was some crazy alternative wellness practice. And then I came in there and I didn't even know I was going to share. I thought I was just going to give 2 words, and then I shared a whole story, and I took up a big chunk of the time talking for like 10 minutes. And to be able to provide someone with that healing, to be able to provide multiple people with that healing, for them to feel a sense of love and comfort in their environment, and not just in me, but in everybody that's involved in the counsel practice, it's a wonderful feeling. I'm actually next weekend getting ready to get trained on breath work, so I can start incorporating breath work practices into what I want to do. So that way I can try and heal everyone in more than one way. So we have our counsel sessions, we'll have our breathwork sessions, we'll have my one-on-one coaching sessions, we'll have all these different means to try to overcome generational trauma, to try and collectively heal together, whether it's in group coaching, individual coaching, or like you just want to stop in for something. It's really important to me that I'm able to help as many people of color as I possibly can.
That's fantastic. And that type of work is something that our people just don't think of doing. They don't look at that aspect of things. And like even with my personal training, I incorporate meditation. I incorporate like the whole self-love thing. That's like the Self-Love Network, which is the C2C is a part of. It's all about lifting self, because that's where it starts. Like you said, to know how to love, to be loved, and to express love is really knowing self and lifting yourself up and taking back your power from allowing the external, looking for the external gratification, and now bringing it internal. That's a big step. And that your work that you're doing, I think is phenomenal. And just the fact that people are not afraid to just say like, I just want to give my gratitude to you and just say thank you. That goes back to what I was saying before about just that feeling and the knowledge of knowing that the path that you're going is the right way, and you're leaving your mark, and you're fulfilling what Dad said. I think that's amazing. So I have to ask, like, if those people that you interact with, if one of them came to you and they were just like, listen, I want to make change, I want to do something different, but I cannot decide, like I see my vision, I see my dreams, but I don't know what to do. I'm stagnant. I'm just like still. What advice would you give to someone that is in that position?
I tell them to write it out. I'm very big on writing everything out so you can visualize it or so you can see it. I think when everything's on paper and it's tangible, then it kind of gives you that little extra boost to go ahead and just do it. I'm very big on like writing it out and then just going ahead and doing it. Because if you fail, what's the worst that can happen? You know,
Right.
You fail, you get back up and you try again and you just keep going until you're able to until your vision actually gets like visualized. And a big thing for me about failure is too, like, I don't believe in failures. I think everything is a learning lesson.
Absolutely.
So if you write it out and you just do it, then what's the worst that can happen? You learn from your mistakes and then you grow and you do better. The amount of times it's taken me to get to this coaching position where I'm starting a company that I really, really want to do it's ridiculous. Love and Other Things started out as a writing network. I was going to have different women from all backgrounds come and write on a website. And I was like, that doesn't fit with me. I have all these documents for it too. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. So that failed. That idea epically failed. It's over in the corner, never looking at that again. But I learned from that. I learned that that wasn't my passion, but my passion still lied in the fact that I wanted people to feel like they had a voice, which led me to my coaching company. And so that wasn't a failure, but it was a learning lesson. But I wouldn't have learned that if I wouldn't have wrote everything out and just did it.
Right.
So write out your beliefs and just go for it.
Write out your beliefs. You hear that? Yes, you will never know what you're moving towards if you don't actually do it. What was actually a guest today? Oh, I have to get it. I had another guest and she said something that she heard from someone else. And she said, it was something to the effect of, you can't perfect what you haven't started. And so if you haven't started, yes, exactly. That's what I did when I heard it. I was here. Yes. So you don't know what you have unless you actually move forward. I think so many people get stumped because they're worried about what others are going to say. They're worried about like that whole idea of failure, but you're right. Like that's just another step to be like, okay, well, let me pivot this way. Let me do something a different way, instead of worrying about like, so what? It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Move on, do something different. So
one of my major beliefs is perfection isn't real. It's not like, and I'm a big perfectionist, so I'm the biggest person that needs to hear that. I constantly remind myself, but perfection isn't real. So you're gonna fail and you're just gonna have to tweak and revert and like move yourself and readjust because you're gonna obtain your vision. You're gonna get it, but you can't get there unless you do it.
Right. And it will be refined as you move along.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't, I think people give too much credit to other people and what they say and what their opinions are. But you got to remember, they're just like you. They're trying to navigate through life and they're learning from the things that they were taught or the things that they learned and they're going from their experience. So that's all that they can speak from. And so when you give them that power, it's like you're taking away what is meant for you and you're giving it to them, over to them, as if they are the person that knows what is right and what's wrong. And it's like, no, honey, you have your path, they have their path. So keep moving forward. So Ashley, keep moving forward and doing what you're doing. All right. So you're welcome. All right. So here comes the lightning round. Boo, 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 boo.
I'm big on snaps. So snap.
Snap. I was doing it earlier. I was like, why does it feel weird? I'm like, and by the way, you do it with the nails. I love your nails, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Fabulous. I do. I'm studying to do, to be an esthetician because I'm adding that to my self-work with the personal training to do full body makeovers. So I can't have nails because when I'm doing facials and stuff like that, so I have to keep cutting them.
Oh.
Okay, lightning round. All right, so I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and then you answer them short and sweet, or however you want it. If you want to explain and go into detail, that's fine too. I am very open to that. All right. Here we go. First question. What initially held you back, if anything did, from making your commitment to change?
The biggest thing that held me back, I mentioned earlier imposter syndrome, but also kind of comparing my journey to other people. So I know a ton of coaches and I'm really friends with all of them and they're wonderful people. And we're not even necessarily doing the same lines of work, but I see them super excelling and I'm like, can I get there? And so just kind of like telling myself, hey, you can get there. And now seeing that I'm actually getting there. But that was a huge obstacle for me, which is reminding myself, like, you're gonna achieve everything you want to achieve and stop comparing yourself to other people's journey. Like they have their own path to get there and you have your own path. I was talking to someone the other day because she's becoming a coach too, or she's becoming a coach. And we were talking about the different paths that you can take to actually become a life coach and where she got her certification from versus me. And I'm like, hey, look, we both are going on two different journeys, utilizing two different paths, and that's okay, So just reminding myself, like, your journey is no one else's.
Exactly. So what has been the best advice? Where can I speak today? What is the best advice you've ever received?
So when I was younger, I did not get into my first choice college. And this was like a huge conversation for me with my brother. It changed my whole life. I did not get into my first choice college and was devastated. And I was talking to my brother on the phone crying. And he's like, well, did you do everything you could do to get in? And I was like, well, not really. I didn't go up to Oakland to go to the interview that I'd really wanted to go to. I didn't have the grades I wanted to have one of my years of high school. And so he's like, well, then who can you blame? And I was like, oh, shoot, you're right. Who can I blame, And so in that instance, I was like, it's me. Everything starts from me. Everything starts from within myself. And I just got to go from there.
Yes. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, right? I was just like, this is an amazing conversation to be having right now. I think I was like 17 and changed my whole life. Everything after that, I was like, you know what? If I can't say it's someone else's fault if I know that I didn't put in the work.
Right. Exactly. Tell your brother he needs to talk to my kids because they don't listen to me when I tell them.
He's a basketball coach, so I think he's like really good with the whole coaching aspect of it.
Okay. Oh, maybe is that why maybe you decided to go into coaching indirectly?
Maybe that could be. That could be. My dad was a coach. My dad was a football coach too.
What?
So maybe it's in my family.
It's in the blood. Coaching is in the blood. Wow. Well, Ashley, share a personal habit that contributes to your success.
I give myself self-care days. So I really believe in giving yourself grace and time to breathe. And so if I don't do a whole day, I schedule out time. I'm big on planning. So I schedule out time in my days where I just do nothing, but like take care of myself. So for example, before COVID hit, my big self-care day involved me getting my nails done. I would get my nails done and I would get like pedicures and that was my day. And I would do nothing else on that day but nails and maybe a lunch. And sometimes books because I'm like obsessive library person. But I really schedule out time to take care of myself and to make sure that like my happiness is a priority.
Yes, that makes a difference. I discovered that year, like, I don't remember what year it was, but I just remember I kept saying to myself, why am I waiting for someone else to do that for me when I can do it for myself? And I'm the same way. Like if there's one thing that I always have done is my eyebrows and my feet. Of course, unfortunately, because of COVID, it's not all the time.
Very rough.
Yes, it's very rough. But so I have to try to love on myself in other ways. But yes, I agree with you. Self-love and self-care and giving yourself grace to sit down. Because I know like as a mom, a lot of times we feel guilty that if we take a moment to rest. And it's like, don't feel guilty. Give yourself that chance. Give yourself grace because you deserve it. Why can't you just take a moment where you're just like, you woosah, you breathe, you get through that moment because you deserve it. So that's so true with the self-care.
And I actually work with like quite a few single parents, like single mothers and fathers. And that's one of the things that I tell them is like, it's okay to take time for yourself. You need that time for yourself, whether it's just sleeping or it's like you need that glass of wine and that bubble bath, like go have that glass of wine and bubble bath. It is okay. The kids will be fine. You are doing amazing. And you'd be surprised how many people just need that reminder.
Yeah, because we forget, because we go on taking care of everybody else and you forget about self. All right, Ashley, I heard that you mentioned libraries. So that's the next question is about books. What book would you share with the C2C or recommend to the C2C audience and why?
So there's 2 books. If you're looking to kind of understand your business and how to function in business development and kind of like learning your niche, I totally recommend The Pumpkin Plan. I was actually reading it before I got on here. So I have it right with me. It's called The Pumpkin Plan. It's about understanding your business strategy from the ideology farmers use to grow their pumpkins. It's really interesting. It sounds like super kooky, right? But there's a whole group of people that actually teach marketing from the strategy. And it's really powerful. And I love the book so far. It's super helpful. The other book I would recommend is The 5 Love Languages. I think it's super important to understand what your love languages are so that you can work on your own self-development. Once you understand your love language, you'll understand why sometimes relationships don't work out for you. That person's not fulfilling that love language for you. Or you'll even be able to give yourself a little bit more self-love and self-care. For example, my love language is I'm the one that's gift giving. I love gifts. I love receiving. I love giving gifts. And so a big part of that is I buy myself gifts. I will buy myself a cell phone case, or not even something that big. Like I'll treat myself to lunch. I'll go have an ice cream cone. I will treat myself in the manner that I want to be treated.
Yes.
So it all comes from within. And I think without me actually having read that book and doing the quiz and understanding my love language and how that benefits me, I wouldn't know myself as well as I possibly could.
Right.
So I think it's super important for people to read that book and do that quiz. I'm telling people all the time, like, do you know your love languages? I recommend that book left and right to people who haven't read it because it's so important to understand that aspect of yourself.
Yes, and it's not only it's also like relationships with the kids and everything like that, because I discovered that book a couple of years ago. I think he was a guest on Oprah's podcast, and that made me like, let me check this out. And I also found later that he had one for kids so they can understand. But I did that. I ended up doing that quiz with my husband. First of all, getting him to do it was a task in itself. But in doing that, I realized like we were like over here when it comes to like our love language was nowhere near in the same area. And it was like, wow, that's so interesting just to see the difference in what it is that we desire from each other. And I'm appreciative of learning that. Of course, that changed the dynamic. That book itself didn't change the dynamic, but it helped me to understand why we were in the position that we were in at that particular time. So I'm grateful for it, for that book. So yes, people, get the book, read it, understand, and it helps to understand you. Like you said, it helps you to understand who you are and what you should be willing, or what you're willing to accept, and what you know you want out of your relationship. Because sometimes we don't even know. We just take what we get. And then we're unfulfilled and don't understand why. And so that's a big lesson learner is that book. So yes, definitely. So she said The Pumpkin Plan, which I definitely want to go check that out because I've never heard of that. That's interesting. That is very interesting. And The 5 Love Languages, make sure you guys put that on your new list. If you do audiobooks, put on your audiobook list or your read list. All right. So your next question is, if you were told that you have 1 hour left to live and you were given the opportunity to give one final message, what would it be?
Spread love in every aspect of your life. Whether that's you're spreading love on yourself or you're spreading love out in your community, your family, make sure that you are spreading love. I think one of the biggest problems that we have in the world today is that there's just not enough love being spread out there. And so if one person is just able to touch another person and just like love on them, give them some type of affection, whether it's like a hug or it's just paying forward and buying someone lunch, it's so impactful. You'd be surprised how just one small act of gesture can literally change someone's whole viewpoint in the world.
Yes. Oh, yes. Share the love. Yes. When you said that, I was immediately went back to like my childhood with the Care Bears. And one of the Care Bears that I actually was this Care Bear for kindergarten back when they had the plastic costumes. You had the plastic costume in the mask, where it was Care Bear. It was was it Heart Bear? Love Bear or something. It was the one with the heart on his chest. Yeah, he was the one with the heart on his chest, and he just stood out there and he was just like, give love, give love, give love. I absolutely love that. We need to bring cartoons like the Care Bears back.
We do. We really do.
These cartoons these days, well, that's a whole other conversation. Well, Ashley, please tell our audience where they can find out more about you. They can follow you. They can call you to be coached. Like, where can we find you?
I try and make things as simple as possible. You can find me on Instagram at love_otherthings.com or love and other things. That's the IG. That's also the website. So love_otherthings.com. That's also our Facebook page. Love and other things. It's facebook.com/loveandotherthings. And so I try and make everything very streamlined. You could reach for me on either one of those pages. I have free consultations for people. Everyone gets a free 30-minute consultation. I call them meet and greets because they sound a lot cuter to me. So everyone gets a free 30-minute meet and greet. When I hear consultation, I think like a doctor's appointment or something along the lines of that. I'm like, this isn't as like medical based. So I don't want people to think like, oh my God, I'm coming into this appointment. She's going to try and like read me the pills. No, this is a way for me to get to know you, you to get to know me, and we just like understand a little bit better about what you're looking for. So you can go on to any of those sites, schedule something, grab the free affirmation workbook I have, all that fun stuff. It's love, the letter N, other things.
Wow. It's so true about the consultation thing, because I was struggling with that too. So I had to change mine to like strategy sessions.
See, that's great. Yeah. Consultation just feels like I'm going to like some type of doctor's appointment or I'm getting a physical. And I'm like, that's not what this is.
Well, definitely, please make sure you reach out to her. She has a lot to share. I love it. You gave me a lot of warm fuzzies today, and definitely encouraged me to do a little bit more on the self-love, since I can't go get my nails done or my feet and all that stuff. So yes, thank you very much for being a VIP. Again, I cannot speak today.
It's one of those days.
It's just one of those days. It's all good. Okay, let's try that again. So thank you for being a VIP guest on the C2C podcast. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. We hope that you feel inspired to keep moving forward towards your goals and stick with or make a commitment to change your life. Please make sure to check out the links provided by our guests and share today's podcast and information with anyone you feel may benefit from it. And remember, in order to get to the top of the steps, you have to take the first step. Just don't step on anyone on the way, because you just might trip. This is Miss Nikki. Till next time, take care. Bye.
Change your life, change your future. To commit to change your life, change your future.